And welcome to another episode of Deck Breakdown. My name's Alzorath, and today we're going to cover what I feel is one of the more underappreciated cards in the Shadow Arsenal, and also its sister card on the human side. Yes, these are the Ascendants. Now, on the human side, the good Ascendant I don't feel is so underappreciated as it's just not quite useful in the current environment, whereas evil Ascendant is definitely underappreciated, especially by solo heroes, where it's extremely useful, but also by some niche ally builds. Like, I can see a Gravebone actually putting Evil Ascendant to somewhat of a good use. I can also see certain elemental decks using it, but that's more for specialty strategies using combinations with it. For this particular episode, I'm just going to cover the pros, the cons, and some of the things I especially like and dislike about these cards. And no, it's not going to be about the flavor text. Oh, the depths of wickedness corrupt friend and foe alike. Woo! But yeah, I actually do like the picture on it too. But Evil Ascendant, it's pretty good for managing 1 and 2 cost allies, because there's a number of them that fall to it or fall to it within 1 or 2 turns. Some of the exceptions are things like Brutalis, which can actually survive 4 turns of enduring that, which is actually pretty useful if you have the right cards to go with it. It can deal out damage before falling to it, and it becomes a little less useful whenever it comes to the big cost creatures. But even then, with the proper deck, you can manage them very easily. These are especially useful in Lone Wolf decks because it allows you to better control the field and take full advantage of your regeneration. Now, probably obvious point that I should probably bring up is that you don't have to go creature list to use Evil Ascendant. Even if you just want a small handful of buffer creatures, Infernal Gargoyle serves as a great kind of buffer creature to use while you're using Evil Ascendant. It can take the damage, it doesn't have to worry about the damage, and it survives. Now, there are ways to use Evil Ascendant to your advantage as well. There are, especially with allies, if you are going for a kind of throwaway creature method where you're not relying on keeping creatures on the field, you're focusing on keeping potency on the field, you can use Evil Ascendant to a mediocre end with the card Bloodstone Altar. Now, I personally don't recommend this. I've seen it done in some low-end games, but never seen it really executed in a viable long-term strategy. And both Bloodstone Altar and Evil Ascendant are prone to things like Shriek of Vengeance, which is actually a fairly useful card. It's good to throw in there for other things, but that's for another discussion. Now, Elementals, unlike the rest of the characters, don't have to rely on Evil Ascendant for this. They have a card which will bring out the damage and utilize Bloodstone Altar even further, which is an interesting little setup if you're going for a surge of damage. I'll cover that in another episode. I want to test it a little bit more before, so I'm confident with it. Now, Evil Ascendant, I especially recommend for 2 solo heroes. There are 2 solo heroes that absolutely excel with it. A third one uses it to quite an advantage. And the 2 big ones are Majaya and Darkclaw. And Moonstalker can use it to an extent, but honestly, I prefer Darkclaw as the solo Wolven. Majaya, it's because it allows her damage. Let's pull up Majaya rather than clicking on that one card. Majaya, she does 3 damage, which is 1 less than Eldwin, and it allows you to draw a card. With Evil Ascendant, Majaya can deal essentially 4 damage a turn to any normal creature. Obviously not sandworms or knights or gargoyles, because they drop the damage. This allows her to deal 4 damage, which will handle most creatures, actually. Most creatures you're going to run into. Pretty much the only ones it won't handle are the bigger, like 5 and 6 cost creatures, and things like Chimera. I keep mispronouncing that, which just simply has enough life to soak it. There are a lot of creatures that fall to that combination, so it's definitely worth looking at. It's definitely worth considering. You don't want to be running into Molten Destroyers with it. If you do see a Molten Destroyer, you want to kill the Molten Destroyer, because this will whittle away at your hero like no end, because the effect of Dark Ascendant comes from your character. It's just like if you cast a spell on Molten Destroyer to deal damage to it, you're going to take the damage from its ability, which is bad, because if they can keep that Molten Destroyer alive or keep bringing it out, in the case of, say, Gravebone, you have a lot to worry about, because that's going to be 5 damage before that creature's gone, plus what it's doing to attack you. So definitely watch out for that. That's really the only one from the Shadow Armory that you have to watch out for. Another advantage of Evil Ascendant is the same advantage that is present with things like Nishaven's ability, with Supernova, with pretty much any all allies effect, or all enemy allies effect, is it will bypass protector status. Now, there are other ways around protector status, things such as, let's get down here to it. I think I already passed it. Selfishness, which takes away the protector and defender status, which is another underused card, in my opinion. It's great if you know you're going to be facing human decks. It's almost useless against shadow decks currently. I have a feeling this card will see more play, probably as expansions come out and more protectors and more defenders are present. I do wish to see more cards affecting creature abilities like that, either adding them or removing them. Now, on Dark Ascendant, it is easily destroyed, it is easily gotten rid of, and if you run into a good Ascendant, you guys will play back and forth with who's going to have the Ascendant that turn. There are possibilities of, say, some Priest decks that actually do use the good Ascendant for their cause, and it's a good healing card to annoy the enemy if they can't get rid of your creatures very easily, or if they're low damage dealers. Evil Ascendant, in my opinion, is more important for board control in the current environment, as there are very few creatures that you can't take out in one turn if you know what you're doing and you have the cards available. Like, there isn't much that can stand up to, say, Majaya casting a fireball and using her ability, except for maybe things like Sandworm. That's pretty much the only one that can just straight on the field tank that. And for that, you have other methods of dealing with it. Now, Evil Ascendant is a bit underpowered whenever it comes to dealing with certain things. Now, a human ally, let's go ahead and let's clear this and bring up, let's say, Amber Rain, just to get our cards in hand. Now, there are ways to protect your creatures from this. Oddly enough, due to the meta of not seeing Evil Ascendant very often, you're not going to see people using these cards very often. Let's go over to Reinforced Armor. I know it's in here somewhere. There it is. This ability will completely negate Evil Ascendant's function, but only for one creature, and it's fairly cheap. So if you're worried about someone being Evil Ascendant reliant, this is a good card to counter them. Personally, I don't see many people including it because there isn't a reason to. Nobody's dealing 1 damage to your creature very often. Now, we're going to move on, just for a few moments, to the Good Ascendant, which sees play in Priest, some other human decks, but not frequently. It's mostly seen in lower-end matches. I have a feeling this is because, again, most creatures aren't going to survive more than a turn or two unless you've established board dominance, in which case this just helps ensure it to an extent. It's not going to really make it happen. It's just a good support for that. It's kind of like, well, Campfire Stories is a similar story. Da-dunch. It just doesn't keep them around much longer. There isn't much just 2 damage or 1 damage to creatures. Of course, shadow heroes shadow units have a certain little wolf that's a little frustrating to deal with that heals 1 per turn, but it's kind of a weird situation with that one. Now, creatures that can take advantage of Good Ascendant are obviously the higher life ones like Raven, Wildheart, and stuff like that, where they'll survive that initial onslaught. Now, personally, I do like it in combination with Aeon Stormcaller, the Good Ascendant, that is. Of course, you can't have Dark Ascendant with Aeon unless you steal it from an enemy using certain methods, because his life is fairly high. It's 8. Most players aren't going to have 8 damage stashed around unless they have board dominance. So this may actually help him survive that 1 extra turn, maybe 2 if you have the right cards in your hand, and can be extremely powerful with priests, which can just keep him alive for extreme amounts of time while you're building up your army. Still, I don't like relying so much on Good Ascendant as I do on Dark Ascendant. Now, due to the order of turns and how things go, if this heals before Dark Ascendant, this is another thing about Dark Ascendant. If both of you just leave them on the field, which there is no point in doing, as soon as you play a Good Ascendant, destroy the Evil Ascendant and vice versa. That's just the only logical strategy. It costs 0 resources. But if for some reason they were both on the field at the same time and no one wanted to destroy them, Good Ascendant heals first, and then Dark Ascendant's damage is dealt. This is true of pretty much all of them. This is one of the reasons why I'm forgetting the name of the wolf, so we're just going to go ahead and clear out, and I'm going to go look. I'm not super prepared for this one. It's just kind of, I'm still getting used to strategy discussion. I'll break down some of my other decks in the near future. But if we come over here, where is my wolf? There he is. Bad Wolf. That was on the tip of my tongue. Bad Wolf will heal first, and then Dark Ascendant will come in. So, if you're using Bad Wolf in your army, it's another good option for use with Dark Ascendant. In a similar way to Infernal Gargoyle, but it's able to easier take advantage of things like Bloodstone Altar, which, due to the order of operations, Bad Wolf will be damaged during your turn, being a 4/3 with Bloodstone Altar, and he'll stay there if he's your own. If it's an enemy's Bloodstone Altar and you have a wolf, it'll heal normal. So basically, other players can't take advantage of Bloodstone Altar with the wolf if you have a Dark Ascendant, but you can. It's something to think about. Now, I probably shouldn't make this as long as the other one. I think my time is up to, about 15 minutes. I think that's good for an episode. If you'd like to see them longer, shorter, I'm going to try and keep the deck analysis ones longer and the more card-oriented ones shorter. So feel free to comment. Tell me how I can improve this for you guys. Tell me what kind of information you'd want. Oh, I forgot one important thing. Let's go ahead and bring that back up just to have it in the background, since it's kind of the subject of this discussion. Sacrifice choices. Personally, if I'm running a deck that's reliant on Evil Ascendant, I will try and keep one in my hand just in case they destroy it, because it can get annoying to ally-based decks. So they'll try and destroy it to get rid of it if it's the higher priority. In most of the decks, it's not. It's just going to be an annoyance by itself. It's combinations that make it so powerful. The reason for not wanting to sacrifice every additional one you get is you do want it to be back out if it's cornerstone to your deck. If it's just a support card in your deck, it makes an excellent card to have in there as a sort of side. I'm forgetting the term for it. Sideboard. There we go. As a sort of sideboard for your deck that you can sacrifice against some opponents that you'll want to use against others. It has that nice wishy-washy feel to it where it's a good contingency plan, but it's not necessarily necessary for certain decks. So, yeah. Anyway, be sure to like, if you like my deck breakdown, if you like my commentaries, if you like the tournaments, if you like anything on my channel, be sure to check out the other series, by the way. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. I always welcome more faces and more discussion down below. And definitely say your opinion of Evil Ascendant or Good Ascendant. I'm interested in hearing your views, interested in seeing decks you may have that utilize it. I very obviously have not covered everything you can do with these cards and every possible plan you can work them in with. And on another note, I see them actually becoming more useful as additional expansions come out. I see these being as a sort of build-upon card, where, yeah, initially they're okay, but as we gain more creatures with damage resistance, with protector status, with defender status even, cards like this will become more useful because they're passively interfering with control of the board. They're kind of like that, oh, it's annoying, but I've got to take care of this other thing first. So, yeah. Put your opinions down below. Be sure to comment. I may not reply to them all down below, but I do read all the comments I get. And if I catch you on IRC or on the forums, we can talk there. Or if you want to private message me about certain strategy things, feel free to do that. I'd rather have it in a comment below, though, simply so everyone can see it. And yeah, I will see you guys next time on Deck Breakdown. I'm going to try and keep these every Saturday. That's my goal. We'll see how that works out, because I had trouble deciding what I wanted to do this week. Next week, I'm thinking probably either draw engines, or I might cover a little bit of hero possibilities. I'm kind of hesitant to jump onto the hero board with this, but yeah. If you'd like to see it, comment below and I'll take that into consideration. Anyway, peace out. This has been Alzorath. Keep gaming, have fun, and I will see you next time. Bye.